Thank you so much for joining and welcome back to the
Thank
show.
you. Thank you, sir.
So, 1 in 11 people in the world faced hunger last year, that is 2023. So, this data is from the new report that is the state of food security and nutrition in the world, which is an annual report by FAO. This report is co-produced, jointly produced by UN agencies including IFAD, UNICEF, World Food Program, and one more organization, and WHO. Shagun, because it's in the last 1 week, the various figures about the report has been trending. So my first question to you is, what are the main, first of all, if you can just tell us a little bit about the SOFI report
Hmm.
and the main headings or the main, what are
Right,
the main facts that you've been hearing, findings from this year?
right. Uh, the state of food security and nutrition in the world, it's an annual report that these agencies release every year. It's basically a cross-country analysis which analyzes the progress different countries have made in terms of their food security and nutrition. So I'll just read out a few key points from this year's report. Rightly mentioned, 1 in 11 people were facing hunger. Now, in absolute figures, this is between 713 to 757 million people facing hunger globally. And over 864 million people experience severe food insecurity. Now, this means they went without food for an entire day or even more at times. Overall, around 2.33 billion people globally faced moderate or severe food insecurity. Now, these are alarming figures, very worrying, because what the report also highlights is that undernourishment, which rose sharply in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic, has remained persistent at the same levels, nearly at the same levels in the last 3 consecutive years since the COVID-19 pandemic. So, world has not been able to basically go back to the figures or the food security that they were kind of they had managed to achieve the food security. The world is not being able to go back to those figures, and in fact these levels of undernourishment that are prevailing today, what I could understand from the report is that they are comparable to the levels that we had seen in 2008 to 9. So whatever progress the world had made has been set back. So this is what the report indicates. Now, this is important in terms of because world has a deadline to end hunger. Our SDG, the Sustainable Development Goals, under Target 2.1 and 2.2, we have a deadline by 2030 to end hunger, to end malnutrition, to end food insecurity, and we are just 6 years away from that deadline. So this mean these figures that we are seeing today, we are seeing when we are just in 2024, 6 years away from achieving that deadline. This means that by 2030, millions of people will still be undernourished, millions of children will still be affected by malnutrition, and world will still be far off track in achieving its goals when it comes to achieving nutrition security as well.
So, what are the major factors of food
Hmm.
security,
Uh,
or the drivers of food
right,
security?
right. So these drivers mostly are conflicts, wars, then also climate change and extreme weather events, and also economic slowdowns that different countries are seeing currently. A pattern that we had observed in reading different reports, not just the SOFI report, but other reports also, that till a few years ago, climate change or extreme weather events were kind of the major dominant factor that was driving these levels of high hunger. But in the last 2 to 3 years, the kind of conflicts the world is seeing, whether it be Russia, Ukraine, or Israel, Palestine, now conflicts have aggravated the situation that we had in terms of food insecurity or malnutrition.
Right. But what are the major findings in about India from the
Right,
report? Because
right,
we have been hearing some alarming figures about India
right.
as well.
Regarding India, what the data says is that 194.6 million people were undernourished in the country. This was, in terms of percentage, this was 13.7% of the total population. Now, undernourishment is described as when a person is unable to acquire enough food to meet their daily minimum energy dietary requirements. over a period of 1 year. So even though we have the in terms of percentage, that figure has declined, because in I think 2004 to 6 this percentage was 21.46%. So now the percentage is 13% of the population in India facing undernourishment. But in terms of absolute figures, this is 195 million people in India who are undernourished. Now, this is more worrying because we have a program under the National Food Security Act where we have a mandate under the public distribution system where the government provides 35 kg ration of food grains to eligible households. So, per household, 35 kg of food grains, and also at subsidized rates. And then there is a program called Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana, under which 5 kg of rice and wheat per person is given free of cost. So clearly, we are falling short in preventing, even despite these programs, we are falling short in preventing our population from going hungry or facing food insecurity. And not just this report, in the ongoing parliament session, the government has put out figures that 17% children in the age group of 0 to 5 years are underweight and 36% are stunted. So these are government's own figures. So clearly, also another contrast that I want to highlight here is that every year in our agricultural cycles, we set new records in terms of food production. So suppose this year Kharif or Rabi will see a high food production than compared to last year. So clearly, hunger is not a food production issue. It's an issue of access, it's an issue of affordability, and it's an issue of prevailing inequality.
We've been talking about food security.
Right.
Where does the world stand in terms of nutrition security?
There is a nutrition crisis. That is what the report clearly highlights. And not just the world, India is also seeing a nutrition crisis. The SOFI estimates show that more than one third of the people in the world, about 2.8 billion population, could not even afford a healthy diet in 2022. And in India, more than half of the country's total population, about 55% of the population, could not afford a healthy diet. Although again this proportion has seen a continuous decline. This was in 2017, this was about 70% Indians who could not who were not able to afford a healthy diet. But still, India's proportion of people not being able to do so was higher than the average of all South Asian countries. And according to the report, as far as I remember, India was had the second highest proportion of people in South Asia who could not afford a healthy diet, I think just after Pakistan. And I think a healthy diet, what the report says, meets both energy and it should meet both energy and nutrition needs. So another figure that I could just point out is that the cost of a healthy diet in India increased by 17% in 2022 compared to what it was 5 years ago in 2017. And in fact, not just the SOFI report, in the last few years, many reports have been consistently raising concerns about the dietary habits of Indians. There is a significant increase in the consumption of unhealthy foods, calorie dense foods, processed foods, and very few are opting for nutritious options. So that is what this report has also confirmed.
Shagun, my final question to you,
Right.
and which is also the most important question, is
Yeah.
how do we move forward? It's not just the SOFI report, even the other reports that came out recently,
Hmm.
everything is painting a grim picture.
Right.
So, what are the scientists saying about what steps needs to be taken, or how do we just move forward?
Right. One major point that I want to highlight here, what the experts are saying, and also this was a major theme of this year's SOFI report, was about targeted financing, both financing and public spending of different governments on both food security and nutrition as well. So instead of focusing just on, say, food grains availability, like we talked about the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana, so instead of focusing just on that, government should also increase their spending capacity on addressing the drivers that we talked about, say inequality or high inflation. So there, the spending capacity of different governments should also focus on eliminating these drivers. Right. In India, just 15% is spent in tackling these drivers, apart from whatever in terms of food security and nutrition. And another thing that the report highlighted, there should be more focus on spending on nutrition, access to more nutritious foods rather than just giving food grains, say rice or wheat. Just focusing on people being able to meet their energy requirements. There should also be a focus on them having access to more nutritious options. So there is not enough support for more nutritious sensitive actions and or enabling like healthy food environments. So the report highlights that there's still not much focus on that.
So without addressing them, there is no, I mean, we can't even
Yeah,
think about achieving the SDG goal by
is
2030.
right. You're right.
Thank you so much, Shagun, for
Thank you.
joining us back. I mean, within a month, I would say.
Yeah.
We are hoping to see more of you.
Thank you. It's
All
always
right.
nice being here.
Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back soon. Bye bye.